Okay. Okay. Good. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Claire Lamoureux. As my name suggests, I come from France. I'm based in Bordeaux, and I'm the PhD student of Professor Tatiana Bouzdine-Chameeva from Cage Business School and Professor Vincent Maymo from the Management Lab of Bordeaux University. Thank you very much for having me. I also would like to thank the former presenter this morning for their insightful comment and research. It helps a lot. Food for thought, my own research project. I work on the impact of wine tourism on the performance of wine companies. To give you a little context about this study I'm going to present, which is the conundrum it is for a loan officer to decide if they finance or not a wine tourism project for a winery. Why is financing wine tourism so critical? It's because the wineries are more and more encouraged to get involved into wine tourism, but it requires, most of the time, a lot of extra resources, human resources, time, energy, but also money. And the question of financing a wine tourism project can be a yes or no, or a stop to a full project. And also, in the results of the recent Great Wine Capital study that we ran this year with our colleague based in Germany, Professor Gergely-Chonowski, we realized that there are very big differences in terms of financing wine tourism when we interview wine producers, how they finance their wine tourism project. If we look into Maine's area, 20% of these projects were financed by bank, while in France it's only 4%. By France I mean Bordeaux region, because it's the great wine capital of France. And my main reason was why? Why is it such a big difference? And why in a region like Bordeaux would depend so much on the development, of the economic development of wine industry, banks are so reluctant to finance wine tourism. This study focus really on the wine tourism question, but it's part of a bigger study that we run. And this article is currently submitted, and we have hopefully demonstrated that when it's about dealing with wine sector clients, bank, especially through their loan officer, they rely on what we call cultural intelligence, because wine is a cultural product. Cultural intelligence has been developed in the 2000s by Professor Eng et al. And Early. They were sociology psychologists, and it's the capacity, the human capacity that we have or not, developed or not that developed, to understand the fact that people can be from a different culture. It's not about knowing all the cultures in the world, it's about being aware of differences in culture so you manage better the intercultural relationship. And Rockschul, from this cultural intelligence, developed a 4-dimension model showing how cultural intelligence is used in order to make a judgment, decision-making, and ideally impact positively the quality of the task performed by the cultural intelligent individual. And in this case, we look at how loan officer facing a wine client mobilize this cultural intelligence so they can make a better judgment and decision. But why is it important in a financial decision? There is big motivation to support and finance wine industry, especially in Bordeaux, where the economy of the region is so dependent on this industry. It's a relevant economic asset. It's clear for the European Union. Viticulture needs a lot of bank loan by just the life cycle of the product. You need finance to support the production of your wine because you have only one harvest a year, and you can only sell your wine after almost 1 year of aging. So during that time, you need to be able to carry your stock. There's a cultural dimension in wine production and lifestyles, and this is where already we can touch to the subjective part of the lending decision. Being a loan officer of a prestigious chateau in Bordeaux is not the same than being the loan officer of a small independent business. And as well, it's been recognized that wineries have a strong resilience to payment failure because of their loan structure and because they have assets, okay? So if I'm in trouble to pay my monthly payment, maybe I can destock. Maybe I can sell a piece of land. So I can liquefy assets. But the problem is that all the guarantee that the bank used to use in order to manage the risk of their loan commitment is impacted by some new specific risk. The new risks are the wine market competitiveness, the reduction of alcohol consumption at the global level. The European winery debt is increasing while their result is decreasing. So it's not a comfortable situation. And also global warming directly affects the quantity and the quality of the production. Stock is one of the biggest guarantee for a loan officer in order to finance a winery. And this is where, when you face all these, I would say, extra financial information, that you need to be able to capture your client culture in order to manage your risk better. And that's what we call the soft information collection. So we run an interdisciplinary literature review. On one side, we have all the good things provided by wine tourism, meaning showing how we should support such a development and the diversification of the activity for wineries. But if we look at lending decision literature, we realize that a lot of risk models are based on accounting indicators. So that's what we call hard information, tangible information. But there's a big human part in the lending decision. Even if more and more information is available, then it still involves human capital. It's still based on the intuition. Because again, for loan officers, wineries represent a big market that they can't really go without, but it also comes with a lot of risk. And soft information as well that has to be collected. Aceturo et al. Is a really recent publication, and it talks about how the cultural proximity between bank and client help defining a better loan. So my research question is very simple. What are the components of the loan officer's lending decision when financing a wine tourism project for a winery? And for this, we interviewed 20 loan officers with a wine portfolio from 4 banks in Bordeaux region. This way, we were covering by the market of these 4 banks, 95% of the wine market of the region. I wish we could interview international loan officers as well, but getting your hands on a loan officer is something very tricky. These guys, they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to share their information, they don't want to share especially their secret recipe. And they're most of the time covered by confidentiality. In those interviews, we explore soft skills in general, and this is where we develop the idea that cultural intelligence can be part of the lending decision. But I will really focus on the part of the interview talking about wine tourism, and basically ask them, what is your opinion on wine tourism? Do you like it or not? If you don't like it, maybe you have your reasons, and maybe that's the reason why you don't finance it. Have you been asked to finance such a project? What are the key points when looking at a wine tourism project? My secret goal here was to get a list of accounting information, but they didn't give it to me. So that's the coding version. Very divided opinion on wine tourism. On one hand, we have the super enthusiastic about wine tourism. Yes, I like it. such a good idea. It brings creativity. It's something we need, some new blood in the wine economy that is a bit struggling right now. Others, I can't really tell you. I don't know. Meaning I don't understand wine tourism. So that's the reason why it's very hard for me to evaluate it. And others are just like, no, return on investment is too low, too risky. So we end up as well sorting out the hard information that they collect when studying a wine tourism project. Building renovation, okay, that's a direct cost, how much it will cost me to renovate. Turnover with a B&B activity, this I can understand. That's number and figures. But even the hard information, it's very important for them to cross-check this information. It's not because a client comes with you with data that this data is necessarily true, especially, I would say, agriculture and rural area data they're not the best at keeping their books in line. So, a lot of soft information is needed in order to make the best decision. And in conclusion, to go back to the main topic, cultural intelligence in lending decision is very important in the decision on financing wine sector in general, wine tourism especially. But if we focus on wine tourism, despite sometimes positive opinion on wine tourism, very few projects are financed, and most of the time they are self-funded by the company, because wine tourism financing requires a solid, reliable financial situation in the first place. Basically, we only give money to the wealthy one. They complain a lot about the lack of financial information on wine tourism. We don't have any profitability model. They don't understand wine tourism project, and there's a big part of the subjective appreciation on the personality and the potential of the winery managers. So it becomes a really one-to-one relationship. For the managerial implication, that means that for loan officer and bank, it's very important for them to start to sort out the soft information in order to bring more analysis, relevance to it. Formalize this gathering will also support the development of a better prediction model of failure. And for the winery managers, important to keep in mind that transparency with your banker is key, even if you are always scared to be judged. And wine tourism profitability must be monitored. That's my bias. I'm a financial decision lecturer. So I always told my students, go back to these three principles. A project in your company should be independent from the rest of the activity of your company. Revenues should be independent. And finally, you should consider the profitability outside of the financing mean you go for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I actually have two questions. First, I would like to start. You mentioned the high level of indebtedness of the wine sector in Bordeaux region. Do you have an idea of the numbers? What should be, for example, the average ratio, debt to EBITDA ratio of the wine companies? Do you have an idea, or?
I don't have an average.
Or the range could be just.
In the average reports, I think I know that the ratio is increasing 4%, coming from around 45.
Mm-hmm.
We are highly debt.
Okay. No, I mentioned debt to EBITDA. That's you don't have it, but okay. Okay. Thank you. Sure. But okay. The second question relates to the financing of the wine tourism. You mentioned that due to the lack of information, it's very difficult to build a reliable financial model. Are you saying that most of the borrowers would request non-recourse financing, that is, they are not offering full recourse to their main assets, to the wine assets, or the trend is just to use the the bulk of the assets that the company, wine producer, for example, possesses to collateralize the.
It's hard to tell. There's one side of the story from the loan officers where they request more information that the borrowers can't provide, and they tend not to trust that much business plan when there is one. And as well, there is a lack of formalism in the data coming from the borrowers. So I would say that's the two-side problem in the relationship. But I'm not sure if that was your...